Hello and welcome to Soulpreneur Scaling Stories. So today we have Natalie Randolph, who is owner and creative director of her own business, joining us to share her scaling story. So welcome and thank you, Natalie, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay. So please do me a favor and introduce yourself and tell us what your business looks like today.
Okay, so I'm Natalie. I'm the owner of Marie Rose Virtual Solutions. MRVS is a boutique agency offering collective administrative services. We currently have virtual assistants, executive assistants, certified online business managers, certified bookkeepers, and most recently we just added a real estate and property management VA to our team. So we try to match them with clients who need their specific skill sets.
So this is interesting because you have a very almost like catch-all agency.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we want it to be. We want it to be like one of those one-stop shops where everybody can just, the client can kind of get whatever they need. We can kind of build a tailored solution around what they need. Because obviously every business is different, so it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So we're trying to build it out slowly as we see, the gaps in the market of, oh, I really wish I had this. And then we're trying to build on that.
Very nice. So I want to go back in time and reflect on your business journey. So tell us how it started. So how you got the idea, how you actually started your online business.
Yeah, so it all started back when I was about 20. I took my first job as a receptionist clerk for an optometry practice. I was working on my bachelor's degree online through Indiana Wesleyan University at the time, and I really needed a job, so my mom got me this job. I stayed with that company for 8 years, I think, and I worked my way up the ladder to office management, and I managed 2 of their offices over 3.5 years. They had an office in the city, so I moved to the city and managed their office there. I loved the management side of things, but then I realized I really wasn't a big fan of the customer service side. I didn't really like being the front person where every upset client and customer had to come to me, to vent. So I was over that. So I was ready to move on, do something different. And I actually had a customer who was an executive assistant to a CEO in Indianapolis. And I loved everything that she told me about her job. Like, it was just incredible. So I started looking for EA jobs. And at the time, my husband and I had 1 child. We really wanted to have another one. But, the job I had, it was like what I made went to daycare. So it didn't make sense to have another kid. Didn't make sense to work and try to have kids. So I started looking for a new job, and I came across this posting for an executive assistant that was potentially had the opportunity to be fully remote, and it was really close to my area. And when I looked at it, it was just really vague, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is a scam or a fake posting, but hey, what do I have to lose? So I applied for it just to see what happened. And I'll tell you, God has a funny way of making things work out, because that was the job that I took, and it was the perfect role. And what's funny is I actually told the CEO that hired me, I actually told him that story a couple months ago, that I thought his post was fake and didn't think the job was real. And he just laughed. He had no idea that his posting was just like so vague, it looked fake. So we have a good story, good funny story about that. But so I started working for this guy. I was his EA for years, and I worked for him and his wife. And they mean so much to me. I still learn from them. I still partner with him on a few things. So
Wow.
It's great.
Wait, and how many years later is this?
So this would be, so I did my office management, and then moving on, it's about 4 years later, I took this job. So I worked with him for 4 to 5 years, loved everything that, he had to offer. He was a CEO of multiple companies. He had several different companies in different industries. So I got to learn like all of the different types of industries that he worked with. His wife actually owned a nonprofit, so I got to help her on some of the nonprofit side. And he kept encouraging me. He's like, you should just start your own business. And I'm like, I'm an introvert. Like, I can't do that. That's not me. No, I don't want to do that. So he kept telling me I should do it. He was kind of in a, that stage of life where he was almost in a semi-retirement stage. He had a few things, but there wasn't like a lot of work for me to do at the time. So it kind of came down to it where I needed to make a decision, whether I was going to go back to corporate world or if I was going to take a leap of faith and start my own business. So that's actually what I did. Last March, I decided that I needed to step out on faith, and I started my own business.
So it's been just over a year.
Just over a year.
Oh, wow. And I know, because this is how we're connected, is that you also in that time did the certified online business manager certification. So you like jumped in.
I did. So when I first started, I'm like, well, okay, I can offer virtual assistant, executive assistant work. So that's kind of how I marketed it. And I posted it on my private Facebook page, just kind of telling all of my friends that, hey, this is what I'm doing, And I had a couple of referrals just from that. So I started out with a few clients, within probably 4 to 6 weeks, I had probably 2 to 3 clients.
Nice.
So it was kind
of
like,
you know what I love? This is the thing that I did also, and that I always encourage new people to do, is that use your network, right? And you get clients that way, and it's great. And so I love that it happened for you so fast.
It was a referral from somebody that I never would have even thought of or have went to him, just because I didn't even think about it, because he lived in another state. It had been a few years since we talked. But then when he saw that and he messaged me, he's like, hey, if you're serious about this, I have a few people to introduce you to. So I was like, well, okay. So yeah, it was one of those things where I would definitely recommend anybody to start with their own personal network first to find referrals, right? Because there's more there than what you think there is.
No, for sure. And so then what was your timeline then? So you're doing regular VA work, and then what happens after that?
So I grew really quick, and I picked up 3 to 4 clients.
And this is all from referrals, right?
This is all from referrals, yes. Yes. One client, I actually did pick up one client that was a posting on Facebook. So it was kind of like just a part-time for that. So when I was working on this, I was doing so much. And it was one of those things where you feel like you're drinking from the fire hose, because it's a lot of work when you're doing a lot of things for different people as one person. So I sat down and I almost feel the burnout starting, and I just started. So I need to pivot here.
This is important. I want to pause this, because this is my passion is that every service provider I know goes through this. And I love that you recognized it so early on, and you were like, let me restructure this so it really fits what I want to do. And it's that when you're a general VA or whatever, and you're doing so much client work, it's a lot on your brain, because you're carrying not just the work, it's the work for all these different people, and balancing all of that. Not only is it hard to keep track of and juggle all the actual tasks, but it's almost like you have to take one hat off, put another one on, right, multiple times a day, and you're capped in terms of what you can earn.
Right. And I work from home, and I'm a mom, and I'm a wife. So it's okay, trying to juggle all of this. And then
right,
I love working from home, but my work and my home are all in the same spot. So yes, there were evenings where I'm like, okay, I could run up and do this really quick. And my husband was like, you need to check out and be home in the evenings. So it was kind of that wake up call of yes, because as I started to grow my business and pivot, I built out core values for me and for my business and for the girls that now work with me.
Okay, and wait. But this is another pausing situation, because this is, again, really important, because talk about the process of how you came up with the core values for both yourself and your business, and kind of also your thinking process in terms of what you want to pivot into.
Yeah. So back when I kind of felt that burnout, I reached out to a few ladies in the network, Facebook groups, people that I knew were real, I had connections with, reached out to them just to kind of brainstorm and talk through like what I was feeling, what they did, what are the possibilities, what could happen. So, and this was right after I got certified as the online business manager. So I went through all that certification process, realized that, okay, there's a next level up from a virtual executive assistant to do business management side for online businesses.
Actually, can we back up to that? Sorry, super quick. How did you discover the online business management? And it was just a few months, I imagine, after you started. And how did you decide to go into that?
So I started researching like what's the next step? What's the next level?
Okay.
How can I earn more? I was at that cap of hours, money for VA. So I started researching, and that's when I came across the certification for the online business manager. And I had my one-on-one chat with Keldy and talked through it and realized that was the next step that I needed to take.
Okay. So you were training, you went through the program, and was it while you were in the program that you were deciding, like figuring out the pivoting, or after?
It was kind of in the middle of all of it.
Okay.
Because I realized
not much was going on at that time.
I'm one of those people that I can't sit still, so.
Okay, so going back to your values, the original question.
So as I was talking to some of these business owners and ladies that had their established business, and I realized I wanted to kind of get to the point of where they were, and I liked their business model. One of the ladies, she was like, you need to take a step back and do some soul searching to figure out what you want your business to be. What do you like doing? What do you hate doing? Like, how do you want to build this? How do you want it to look? With all these questions. So I wrote all these questions down. I'm like, I'm going to take, a couple months off here soon. This was back in January. So I was talking to her. I'm like, I'm going to take a couple months off soon. And she was like, why are you waiting? I was like, well, I just have all of these clients and I'm trying to, I just feel guilty. I don't want to lose them. I don't want to just hand them off to just somebody else. So within all of the time frame of starting my online business management certification, I actually did hire a VA to work for me so I could start offloading a few things to her.
This is important in terms of creating space, because I always tell people when you're pivoting, you need time to work on that thing. So how do we set up your business so you have that space? And hiring an VA is one of those things you can do, right? To give yourself some time and space.
Yeah. So this lady was like, you just need to do it now. Stop waiting.
I know that she was like, why are you waiting? And you're like, oh.
She was, and I didn't have a good answer. I was just like, well,
yeah,
kind of him holding around. So I finally decided, I talked to my VA and I'm like, if you have the time, let me offload all of my clients to you. That way they're still under my umbrella. I still have them as clients, but I'm not necessarily doing all of the work.
So let me ask you, like in that process, because it can be a messy process.
Very.
Now, I know that you are OBM and doing all of that, so maybe it wasn't, but it can be very messy to hand off things. So just super quick, what was your system? Like, what did you do so you could make sure it wasn't messy? Or maybe it was messy.
I mean, thankfully, she had already been with me long enough to at least know the names, kind of know their industry. She kind of knew what I did for them. So it was one of those things where we had a scheduled meeting. We sat down and I went through my list, and she and I also have, my business runs on Masterclass. It's like a task management.
I don't even know what that is.
I love it. It's like Trello on steroids. It's great.
Oh.
So we have Masterclass, and that's where we have, cards for all of our clients and the task within that.
So you already had everything systematized before you handed it over.
So she and I just went through it line by line. So that way I could just upload it to her. She knew what it was. So that's how, we kind of did that. So when this lady was like, you just need to do it. You just need to soul search and figure out what you want. So that was one of the first things I sat down and thought about was, okay, what do I want? What do I like doing? What do I hate doing? What do I want my business to be? How do I knew I wanted a team. I knew I wanted some type of agency model, but I didn't know I guess, how to build it out.
That's interesting. So what draws you to the agency model?
I love the management side of things, and I love teaching and leading girls. I mean, I had a few guys on my team when I was office manager, but most of them were women. So I worked, really closely with them. I love teaching them, training them, empowering them to be more.
So this sounds like it was your office management experience that was like, oh no, I really want to have a similar environment in my business.
Yeah. And I worked enough, and I saw enough in that corporate world of what a toxic environment could look like that I knew I did not want that for my business. Did not want that for my team. I wanted girls to look at my business and be like, oh, I wish I could work there or work with them. I don't want it to be this dread position.
Yeah. And I also love that you really focused on the fact that you were empowering the people on your team and teaching them. I think that's beautiful. And I love that that's kind of one of the drivers of you doing this.
Yeah. So that's when I sat down and really started thinking about values for me, for my business, what I wanted. So the very first value for our business is family first, because there needs to be that boundary of work and life balance. And actually, when I worked with Tom, the CEO who hired me to be his executive assistant, that was one of his big things. And I love that from him, because he didn't care if I brought my kids with me to a meeting. He just made this environment feel like family, like it felt more like a family than a job. And I loved that. So I wanted to incorporate that a little bit for my business and my team. So that's kind of how it started. And then once I kind of got that one, then the next one just came, and then they just started rolling.
So in terms of the people working for you, or clients, or both?
For the values, for building out,
for the values.
Yeah, what I wanted the business to look like.
Yeah. You know what I love, because this is what I do with my clients, is because a lot of people kind of get into the service provider business to escape their corporate 9 to 5, or they want freedom. And then they're like in it, and then they don't know what to do from that point, right? Because it's like a lot of times you go in, and then like I accidentally started a VA agency because I had too many clients. But it was an accident. And it wasn't for me, So it's actually really important to look at your values, to look at what I call your dream life vision, the things that you're amazing at, the things that you love doing, and why, and know that you do have the freedom to make your business that exact thing. And it doesn't have to be something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely eye-opening.
Yeah. And I also love that you took action really quickly, and you were like, let's just go. We're doing this thing. There's like no hesitation with you.
Yeah. So what's funny is actually last night I officially signed up and was accepted into the Director of Operations certification program. So it's like, let's throw one more thing in the mix.
Because, it's chill.
Right. Yeah. It's about 6 months, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, congrats on getting into that. So let's talk about then, because you were saying you didn't know what you actually wanted your agency to look like. So how did you decide that piece?
So I knew I wanted to do the management side and teach and train the girls that work with me, help them to be, the best that they can be. So I started putting feelers out for girls that I could bring onto my team. And I really started looking for girls who had specific skills in, different areas especially that I didn't have. So like the real estate VA was really exciting for me to bring on, because that's one industry I don't have any experience in. So if a client comes to me looking for that, I didn't want to have to like scramble to try to find somebody. So I'm trying to find the few things of the industries that we really want to try to focus on and market to. So I started meeting with the girls. I put a few feelers out there to see who's interested, vetting process. And I'm also a personality enthusiast. So I really think matching personality types is so important and key to understanding, who the service provider is, who the client is, And there's so much power to that.
Do you have a test that you prefer?
So Tom, the CEO that I actually partner with, he is a certified consultant for the Myers-Briggs.
Ah, nice. Okay.
So I have my girls take the MBTI, and then we bring him on and he explains their results and kind of gives them all the details. And I love sitting in those meetings because he'll go through it and he'll tell the girl, he'll be like, oh, so you probably do this, or you probably had this in your background. And they just look at him like, how did you know that? And he's like, well, that's what I do. I'm good at reading people and then this personality test and putting it together. And so it really helps them understand more about them and how they work and then who they should be connected with the best. So we try to incorporate that.
This is amazing, both like for you as an agency owner to really, really match the right VA or the right service provider with the right client, and the fact that it also empowers them and tells them about themselves and who they should work with and what they should be doing and whatnot. And that's really cool.
Yeah. And I'm big on, values, ethics, and morals. So I really don't want to bring a client on that isn't going to match our values and our ethics. And, I'm not going to bring a client on just because it's money.
So what do you do in terms of vetting?
So I'm actually, and that's what I'm planning on building that out more as I go through the DOO certification, because they have the strategic mapping process that they use. And I'm really excited to incorporate that into the vetting process of a client. So hopefully within a few months, that whole process will completely change. Right now, it's just like a questionnaire, meetings. If I can get the business owner to take the MBTI, that's usually how I start. But if I can do more of a strategic mapping to start out with, then it's going to give me so much more information about the business to start out with.
Oh, very nice. So let me ask you, in terms of the structure of your agency, because I feel like people listening might be interested. So you started with, okay, let me get some VAs. And did you create systems first? Like, what was your process, after onboarding some of your team members?
So we're still kind of in the process of getting it all to work smoothly.
It's a process, right? So can we normalize that, like that it takes time to put all these systems in place?
Well, and it's kind of like, which comes first, the egg or the chicken? Like, do you get the client first and then the VA, or the VA first and hold them and be like, I'm trying to find you a client, So I worked with my lawyer. I got my contract set up, I got everything spelled out. So I did have that. So it's like, okay, at least I'm prepared on that end. And then I started reaching out to girls to add to my team because I wanted to have something to offer clients. And the girls all know that, I'm marketing everything. I'm trying to find them a client. If they get something else, just let me know. It's totally fine. Like, I want them to have what they need too, and not just to hold on. So, we have open communications about that. So then we find the client and we onboard the client with what they need, match them with the VA, EA, the bookkeeper, whatever it is that they need. And now my business is starting to implement the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Yeah, talk about that, because I haven't had anybody talk about that yet.
Okay, I love EOS. I learned about it when I worked with Tom in one of his companies. He had one of his companies run on it, and it's fabulous. Not everybody loves it. There's likes and dislikes with it. I really like it. We run, we're trying to incorporate like weekly team meetings. So pretty much we all meet once a week, go through our client list quickly and just kind of, make sure everything's getting done, make sure there's no questions, there's no issues. If any of the girls need help or resources, that's the time to be like, hey, I really need help on this. Then we can break off later and, get them the help that they need. So we kind of do that once a week. My plan is to grow the agency large enough where Macy, who is my VA right now. I want her to move up to kind of manage all of the other VAs. So there will be different EOS meetings. She'll meet with the virtual assistants, then her and I can meet. That way it kind of frees me up to do more of like client focus and try to find the clients. And if I do one-on-one strategic sessions with the higher level clients, there are all of these possibilities and ways to grow. So like I said, it's a process. We're still getting it started. We don't hit it every week, and trying to get all of our schedules connected can sometimes be challenging, but I think it'll be beneficial in the end.
Yeah, amazing. So in terms of marketing for your agency, is that something that you're doing yourself?
Right now, yes, but I did meet with another marketing company. So that's in the works too, where I hope to actually partner with them. They can help. They have more experience than I do. So I'm definitely very an amateur when it comes to the marketing side, but you have to do something to get started.
Yeah. So throughout all of this, it really sounds like you have been very confident and sure of yourself. And I'm curious for like the mindset inner journey. Excuse me, how has that been for you?
It's a good thing nobody sees me at like 2 or 3 a.m. when I wake up and have that panic moment of like, what am I doing? I can't do this. I have that freak out moment, that like paranoid, stressful self-doubting, but I try to just take a deep breath and just take it step by step. Like I'm a big picture person, so I love to look at the future and see what could be there and see how it could look this way. It could be amazing. It could also be a flop, but I hate that what if feeling. Like, man, I wonder what would have happened if I would have done that.
This is interesting. So it sounds like your vision really drives you.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's interesting too, because your journey has been like a pretty straight path.
So far, knock on wood, I really hope nothing gets changed or moved or anything else like that. A side street that we're kind of taking, Macy and I are planning on starting like a virtual assistant course of some type. So the girls who want to start a VA business but don't know how to start, don't know where to start, they need a roadmap, they need all of these resources. And I know there are so many coaches out there, and everything is so great, and you can pick from some excellent resources out there. But sometimes we feel like there's still a gap of either they can't afford what some of the VA coaches are putting their courses at, or there's just a gap of something. So we're still working on that, but that's a side street that we might take off here pretty soon and start launching like virtual assistant courses or executive assistant courses for the EAs who want to turn into a virtual assistant and offer more of like an executive virtual assistant level. So it's kind of like an in-between.
I love that specialty. I love, like that really niche market, because you don't see that a lot. Right? You don't see a lot of like, this is very specific exactly for you. And that's your journey. So you have so much to talk about with that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we're doing some market research. We're trying to put some things together. We have a name, we have a domain. So it's like we're starting on the right process.
Very cool.
But now we just need to sit down and again, that kind of goes back to growing my agency, to bringing on a few more girls to free up Macy's time now to help so we can actually build this out. And we want to help more people and empower them and give them resources that they need and see where this goes.
Yeah, I can see the empowerment focus all throughout your journey. That's really cool. So in terms of your top scaling and growing tip, what would that be? So if somebody's listening to this and they're like, okay, like this is really cool. Like I want to have an agency like this. I would love to grow. What would you tell them in terms of top tips?
I would say that's a tough one. I would say always look to the future of what you want it to look like. but have the understanding and the realization that it might not turn out that way. It might not look that way in the end. You know, there will be bumps in the road. Things can pivot. Things can change. I mean, look, no one expected the coronavirus to hit and the world to shut down. So it's like we all had to pivot at that. So it's like there's always going to be something that is going to, you know, change your course of action. So I would say never stop learning. That has been something that has always driven me to always not only to just better myself, but to just always keep learning and figuring out how can I help other clients? Like, what is it that they need? Everything changes, I feel like, in this fast digital world. So continuing to learn and figuring out valuable resources that you can offer people. That's been something that we've tried to focus on.
Yeah, and I can see it in your path as well. 2 years in and you're like 2 certifications. Right?
Who knows what next year will look like.
I love it. Thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing everything with us. Let everybody know how they can stay in touch with you. If anything else they want to share or you want to share.
So we're mostly active on Instagram. So our handle is MarieRose_virtual solutions. Our website is marierosevs.com. That's mainly where, you know, we have most of our action. We're on Facebook and LinkedIn, but like I said, if we're doing all of the marketing in-house, it's usually just me. So trying to juggle everything, I'm doing good if I hit both of those.
I feel you. I feel you on that. It's a lot. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.